Hi, I'm Dan Goldstein with the Office of Historic Preservation.
I'm Jessica Maria Alicea, also of the Office of Historic Preservation, and we welcome you today to the Neabsco Creek Boardwalk because we are looking at the regional Native Americans that populated this area for Native American Heritage Month.
Prior to European contact, this area had several tribes that lived in the area abutting Neabsco Creek, but also farther out next to the Potomac River. And one of those tribes came over from the Piscataway tribe in Maryland, and they were named the Doegs Indians. And we have the most information about that tribe because they were local to Prince William. They were here for a little while, but towards the beginning of the 17th century, they had contact with Europeans, and they were forced to move farther west and later split apart. Some of them went back across the creek to Maryland, and some of them went farther into Prince William out into the western areas around Brentsville and what we know as modern-day Manassas.
In 1608, Captain John Smith and a group of his men actually sailed up the Chesapeake and into this general area, where they met the Doegs Indians, which were then known as the Taw, and they lived in Tahoxant. And there, they were greeted quite warmly by the Woronse, which is the chief of that tribe.
So the map that I have in my hand shows the general area of where Smith landed. He may have been greeted at a village such as this. These are typical of what the dwellings look like in this area, but they wouldn't have been down by the water. Most likely they would have been up the hill where Ripon Lodge Historic Site sits today. They had a more commanding view of the area, and it was a more defensible position if they were attacked by other tribes. The gentleman that they may have been met with may have looked like this. This is a 17th century print showing some of the local natives and how they were adorned and dressed. So they were very kind to Smith. Smith noted that these Indians did not attack him. They were welcoming him, and a few of them actually knew English when they greeted him.
In general, there are relatively good relations between the Native American tribes that were here in the colony of Virginia along with those colonists. However, as the area became more populated, as the colonists started to move into the lands, tensions arose, and unfortunately there was one colonist who did not provide the items he said he would that he had promised our Doeg tribe, and therefore the Doegs came and actually stole one of his hogs and went back to their tribal land. Well, colonists heard about it and led to actual battles where unfortunately both Native Americans and European colonists both died on each side. And that would lead to Bacon's Rebellion, where Nathaniel Bacon got involved in this conflict, and it ballooned so much that it was not just the colonists against the Native American tribes, but also against the governor at the time, Governor Berkeley, which led to a huge group of these colonists heading down towards Jamestown and actually burning Jamestown.
So after the Native Americans are pushed westward into western Prince William and farther out of the state of Virginia and out into West Virginia today, which is West Virginia and Kentucky and that area, this area became a farm with Ripon Lodge being at the top of the hill. It's a tobacco farm. We have evidence that this area began to silt in very quickly after the middle of the 18th century. There's an actual article or an advertisement in the paper advertising the sale of Ripon Lodge and the land around it, and they mention Neabsco Creek, they mention the marshlands and great grazing area for your cattle or horses. So this area has already started to change environmentally by the middle and end of the 18th century. Today, it doesn't really resemble what most Native Americans and their tribes would have recognized prior to pre-colonization. The area has silted in greatly. The water has limited access in. You may have been able to sail a small boat in when the Blackburns lived here or up the hill at Ripon Lodge. As you walk through these grounds, imagine what the Native American eye would have seen and how it's vastly changed here in the 21st century with trucks and cars, airplanes, all of that waste being washed down from the creek and into the river. So it doesn't look very much like the Native Americans would have seen. However, we offer you to explore the area, come down to Neabsco Creek Boardwalk, take a walk across, look at the landscape and imagine for yourself how it may have looked prior to 1608 when the Doegs Indians lived here and how they would have fished and hunted in these woods. And today it's a development, houses, schools, and things of that nature.
Luckily for us, the Neabsco Creek Boardwalk, which is part of the Potomac Heritage Trail, has allowed nature to come back to the area. And so when you take a walk on the boardwalk, make sure you look out into the waterway and you'll see turtles and beavers and Canadian geese and any other animals here. Thank you very much for joining us today here at the boardwalk. I am Jessica Maria Alicea. I'm actually the site manager at Ribbon Lodge, and this is Dan Goldstein. He is our site interpreter. And we look forward to seeing you and enjoy Native American Heritage Month.